Defined AI, enabling creators of the future.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our third Queen of Tech interview. My name is Catarina Peirito Salteiro, and I am the Director of Global Communication and Brand at Definedai. And today, I'll be your host for another chat with incredible women. As we celebrated the International Women's Day last week, and as a strong gender equality advocates we are at Definedai, we are conducting a series of interviews throughout the month of March with amazing women in the tech industry. Every Tuesday, a new interview will be up with stories of strong and fierce women who thrive in male dominated industries. Today, our guest is the amazing Erin Papworth. Erin holds a Master of Public Health and is a two-time entrepreneur. She spent over a decade managing million multi-dollar programs and working for organizations like Johns Hopkins University, Doctors Without Borders, the United Nations, and the United States government. She is now the CEO and co-founder of Navid, a social and finance app that helps young earners find their personalized way to increase health. Erin realized that millennial peers have a significant lack of financial confidence when discussing basic financial management, entrepreneurship, and wealth generating investments. In 2019, Erin teamed up with her co founder, Maya Monel, to provide technological solutions to increase financial health outcomes for young earners, raising their confidence and habits around money. Thank you so much for joining us, Erin. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
There are some great examples of women who, without a traditional tech background, are thriving in the tech industry, which you're clearly one of the biggest examples that we have. What does it take to start a tech company and thrive?
It's a great question. A part of the challenge of tech is that you can be really good at a subject matter, but you also need to be able to put, especially if you don't come from a tech background, put together really great teams. So I think, the challenge is you have an industry that is very specific in tech and has like the zeros and ones, right? But the innovation you can bring, being a little bit of an outsider, is that you see technology differently. You see how technology can impact different industries or different, populations. And you need to be able to definitely create teams around you that have the technical ability, but you also need to be pretty confident that you have something of value to bring too. And that specifically, your lack of industry experience actually brings innovation. So it's definitely a balance.
That's a very good point. How do you feel it's the best way to build these teams and to enrich them and to bring this extra layer of confidence that it's new?
It's been interesting building teams because you really, from my perspective, we are a kind of mission-driven company. So it's been actually pretty empowering to attract people through your mission, right? To really have a vision for your company. You don't have to be mission driven necessarily, but having a really strong vision, paying attention to company culture, especially in the time of COVID when there are stressors for everyone, and in sales and, you know, remote work and all the things that exist. So for me, being very clear on your vision and mission, being able to inspire people around that, then you are really attract people that believe in what you're doing, and kind of, you can try and kind of get the best quality.
That sounds like a great tip for everyone that's listening in too. And speaking a little bit more about Navid, could you please tell us a little bit more about what it is, and how does it actually impact the user's mental health?
Yes. So our kind of philosophy is financial health and finances are just a part of holistic health. So, you know, it's not disassociated with, you know, you sleep well and nutrition, you know, productivity, all these things that affect your overall well-being. Finances are just a part of that narrative. And so we really take the approach that, why don't we integrate financial health into a holistic health narrative? Let's talk about your habits. Let's check, you know, how you feel about it, what your money story is. We talk about money stories, right? We all have different money stories. We all have a unique experience with finances, but we all are navigating the same system. So we give people a tool to help them track and build habits around their finances that then lay the foundation for overall financial wealth in the future.
And Erin, you have an amazing track record. I mean, you work for the United Nations and the United States government, and I'm sure there are incredible stories from that period that you have. What are key learnings or episodes that you can share with us today?
Oh, yes. Those experiences for me were just unparalleled. I'm so grateful to have had those experiences. I think one thing that I took away was how incredibly resilient humanity is, and how women really are the backbone of society, right? If you educate women, you know, 10% more education for girls and women in a society directly increases the GDP. Right? If you get women more access to capital and business opportunities, 90% of their paychecks go back into some community-driven, you know, whether it be education for their kids, more economic impact, et cetera. So it was a huge takeaway to me that the minute you start to really empower a gender that has been historically disempowered, you have direct economic success. And seeing the resilience of both men and women in different contexts has shown me what humanity is really capable of.
And as a woman in these super male-dominated industries, what were any challenges that you felt that were related to a gender difference, for example?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because it's hard to articulate the nuances that occur when you are a female in tech. But the reality is that there is no precedent for people like us to be tech entrepreneurs, or to be, you know, make billions of dollars, or to be venture capitalists, or to be, you know, CEOs on Wall Street. Like there's a small like precedent, but it's too small. Like Gen X was really the first generation to have broken these glass ceilings, and they didn't do it en masse. Our generation is the first that, you know, we have CEOs like yours, like, you know, we have all these people that are pushing the envelope, but it really is the first time. So when you go into settings that are predominantly male dominated, or have historically had one pattern of a certain person coming in and becoming successful, you're pushing against the envelope because you're having to create a new narrative. You're having to show that a mother, a woman, someone without a tech background can run a company and has really good ideas and is a manager, can fundraise venture capital. You know, there's really just a lot of firsts that you're actually having to really build. And that means you are held to a different standard. You're always kind of swimming upstream. And so you just, like that whole thing, you do have to be better. You do have to be, you know, 10 times more perfect in everything. That kind of is true, because no one knows what you should be like. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And how do you think that we can help, and how can we all, as humanity, as people, as men and women, come together and break those glass ceilings, actually?
It's a great question. Yeah, I think this generation, our generation and younger, especially even the younger ones, are really starting to push that envelope, and just the expectation of greatness and success for anyone that is in front of you. And that's just not gender, that's race too. Like expecting that these people are capable and able to succeed, and if you give them a chance, is kind of the baseline, where the starting point that everyone should start at. Like the assumption should be that these people are competent and capable. And then giving people chances, taking a chance. Like, I have never invested in a woman before. I am going to try at least to invest in one in the next year, right? Like, it doesn't have to be massive leaps. Like, we should move 50% of venture capital to female founders, because we're only at like less than 2 right now. But there's a reality that you have to start somewhere. And if you really are going to be allies, if you really are going to talk about gender equality and all these things, you do need to put your money where your mouth is. Like, even if at a small amount, like, it has to start with you actually delivering and supporting women in the future. I have to say one of my favorite quotes is, female founders are over mentored and underinvested in. And I cannot agree more with that. Like, people always will want to give you opinions and help you out and think you're so wonderful, right? But they're not really focused on, oh, wait, if I give this woman capital, she is going to make me a return. Like, there's that economic gain is not, because there's no precedent, it's not correlated yet. And it will be. I think our generation will fix that.
I hope so. And it looks like that. And that's a very good point. Yes. And in the tech industry, who is a role model for you?
Yes, I have so many. I have a lot. There's one, Alison Engel. She's from Greycroft Ventures. I find her fascinating because she was an operator for many years. She was at LinkedIn and Stripe, and so LinkedIn is more social networking, and then she went over to finance, and then she's in venture. So I really appreciate women that have been operators and also investors, and that they can make choices like now strategically to invest in female founders, and they have shown track record of both being operators and investing. I have so many. I really like all the female founder CEOs I have. I also have a really amazing co-founder that I just adore, that is always an inspiration to me.
Oh, that's so great.
Yes.
And what changes would you like to see in the tech world in the next couple of years?
I would like to see funding to female founders. That, it still is pretty abysmal. And I think the more funding that goes to female founders, the more return people are going to see in investing in female founders, and kind of that cycle. People talk a really big game, like there are funds that have started for, that are female founded focused or founders focused, and or specifically women of color, et cetera. But it's still really small dollar. So you're still not, a $50,000 investment is an amazing investment for a lot of companies. But in the tech world, a $50,000 investment gets you maybe a month, maybe 2 months of operating costs, right? You're really you're looking for big dollar amounts, and being able to really show traction, especially depending on what your industry is. So, and you need investment for that. So my hope is that in the next couple of years, stronger female investors will be out there. They'll have more power to be able to invest in companies that they believe in. What you see with that, and why I think that's so important, not only from a gender equality perspective, but also from a society perspective. Female founders, 8 out of 10 tend to have some sort of innovation that's changing the social impact or social narrative in some way. Whether it be because women are able to look at society through their lens, and that just hasn't been used before, right? So if that starts happening, but money starts going to female founders, you're going to see further innovation in spaces that people thought were kind of saturated. But a new perspective is really the place for true growth and true economic success.
Absolutely. And if that happens, and we hope it does, it looks like it's going to be such a game changer.
Huge. Yeah. And I really think that is the next step in our human evolution, right? We have COVID, we have all these things that have happened in the last 10 years, and we have some crazy new innovations like in finance, like DeFi and crypto and NFTs and all these things that are peer lending and peer investing. And that needs to have the balance of people that come from the finance industry to build, but also people that come out from outside the finance industry to question it, to make sure what the impact on society is, to really, like Robin Hood and the GameStop drama, right? Like to try and try and consider all sides of the situation. I believe very firmly in unbiased design theory, right? Where you're really looking at the humane tech approach and questioning your secondary and tertiary consequences of what you're building. I think it makes us better companies.
Absolutely. And diversity is crucial to ensure that the systems are actually unbiased. So
exactly.
That's great. Erin, if you could give a tip, say something to the young women that are listening to us today, what would you tell them?
Oh, you really can take over the world. I know it sounds, and no, I don't believe that we can do everything. You know, you can be a mother, you can be a partner, you can be an entrepreneur, you can be a professional. You can do you have all these roles to play in your life. So I do believe that you can navigate those. It's true, you won't always be perfect at everything. I think that's the big thing that women need to get over. It's like, perfection is not the goal. There is no such thing as perfection, but trying and going for it and taking risks and being confident in yourself that you have the capacity to do this. And really, I find one thing that I've had to learn is this balance between being a driver and being someone that's driven to succeed and to think about business from kind of a masculine perspective, right? The numbers and cents and action and strategy. But allowing yourself to also balance that with your intuition and with the kind of feminine side of instinct and putting together good teams and people and understanding your organizational culture. And there's a lot of value in allowing your instinct to also inform your intellect. And women are really good at that if they let themselves. So you've got this, young women. The future is yours.
That's a great tip for everyone listening to us. Young women, take notes.
Yes.
Erin, thank you so much for your time and for this conversation. It was so insightful and enriching. And I mean, I think we could be here for the rest of the day talking if we had the time.
I would love it. But thank you so much for having me and for promoting women in tech. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for your help, Erin. And to everyone listening in, we will be back next Tuesday with another really interesting interview. And I'm sure you don't want to miss out. So make sure you stay tuned on Definedai LinkedIn's page, and we will announce the next guest tomorrow too. See you all soon.
Thank you.
Defined AI, enabling creators of the future.